Tuesday morning, and we're kind of starting a new week because I wasn't here yesterday. As you know, I was on the road, but I'm glad to be back with you. And we got a lot of cool things happening today. You might have heard we're going to have a special guest. And he is supposed to make you laugh. Now, he told me he would make you laugh. He's been rumored to make
Wow.
people laugh. I've actually laughed at him on occasion, but we're going to give him another chance. Michael Jr., one of my favorite comedians, and spiritual guides and life guides and hero of wisdom and all sorts of things, is going to be joining us in a moment. And he has a new book out that we wanted to tell you about today called Funny How Life Works. And we're going to be talking about that. But before we get into that, quick announcement. We have an event coming up. We have a 2-hour webinar on marriage coming up May 19th.
Ooh.
So tune into that, sign up for that. No matter where your marriage is, what we're going to be doing. And I want you to look at this sort of like, when you build an airplane, it's supposed to stay in the air. It has to operate according to the laws of physics. Now, when we break those laws inadvertently, or maybe the plane's bent or something happened to, whatever, then things get kind of turbulent up there. And that happens in marriage. And sometimes plane can actually go down. Well, this event is called the Marriage Equation. And I'm going to go into, there are pretty much, we just know that these things are true, that marriages that work operate according to certain laws. And when we kind of like, or sometimes because of our woundedness, sometimes because of our immaturity, sometimes it's because of somebody just when he makes crummy choices. There's a lot of different ways in which marriages kind of don't get on the right side of doing what we need to do. And that takes healing, it takes support, it takes some understanding. So we're going to be talking about all of that day, no matter where your marriage is, whether it might be you feel like it's going down, or you're fine, you're getting there, but there's some bumps that you don't want to be in, that turbulence, that conflict that keeps going back and forth a lot, or whether you're flying great at 40,000 feet and 700 knots and you just want to go higher, break that sound barrier. We're going to be talking about all that. So go to boundaries.me/marriage to pre-register. We still have it's a big discount for pre-registration. 2-hour event coming up on May 19th. If you can't attend May 19th and you sign up for the live event, you can stream it later. Boundaries.me/marriage. Okay, as you know, I always start out with a thought of the day. I'm going to make that shorter today because I want to get Michael Jr. on here quickly. But wow, tell me how appropriate this is. Do you know? I hear Michael laughing. Mute him. Will somebody mute him? We don't want to hear him right. Tell me how appropriate this is. Did you know? Now, as you know, I'm like, I'm a real shrink. I read all the research and study all that stuff. And did you know that humor does a lot of things for you? And this is not, a bunch of, pile or whatever. I'm telling you the scientific truth here. That humor actually has incredible health effects. I'm going to go over a few of those in a second. But one of them is research has shown that if you are in kind of a depressed mood or bad mood or whatever, and you still feel that way and you start smiling, that it actually has the ability to change your mood. That's something that's been researched over and over and over. But it goes deeper than just the exterior, what we're doing on the outside. Wrote down or captured a few of these for you. I'm going to read you a few things here. Did you know that it's when you laugh, when you're engaged in humor, it stimulates your organs? Stuff happenings with oxygenated, intake and all of that stuff with your heart and lungs and muscles and all of that. It activates and relieves your automatic stress release or relieving of stress. You have two systems that balance each other, sort of like an autopilot, and corrects it. And when you start laughing, stress response gets touched and it gets changed. and it soothes tension. It improves your immune system. It relieves pain. It leads to increased personal satisfaction, as we've already said, can change your mood and a bunch of other stuff. So, you know, I'm your pal here, guys. So I try to help you, right? So I'm going to bring in the humor doctor, and I'm going to hope, every now and then, like one out of, I don't know, 6 or 8 tries, he's funny. Actually, it's funnier more than that. I'm just giving him a hard time. Michael Jr., welcome to the Dr. Cloud Show. It is good to have you here. I can see him, but I can't hear him.
He needs to unmute.
He's got to unmute. Now, I didn't know we had the power to mute Michael Jr. I might use that.
Issue. Here's the issue. The issue was I was just muting you, Claudia. That's what just happened. I thought if I could just mute you, I wanted to hear everybody else. But then, no, dude, I love you, man. You're so doggone awesome. I have random friends, just so you know, random friends who will call us up. And this one lady in particular, she called me up and she was having some issues in her marriage before. She called my wife and then she said, well, you know what Henry Cloud told me? I was like, oh, she said it like y'all were friends, but she watched you online like everybody else, dude. So you're really having a great impact. Her marriage is so much worse now because of what you brought to her, man. So I really appreciate that. I really helping a lot of people, dude. You are.
Well, I appreciate that. We we have a great tribe here, Michael, on this program. It's just, the stuff they write on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, it's people that are not what you would call oversaved. Now I'm gonna ask Michael about that in a second. But oversaved are these always victory in Jesus. I don't have any issues. The world is bad and I'm good. No, right. Our tribe are real and they're authentic and they process stuff. And so
if you only have sheets on your bed because Jesus is your comforter, you oversaved. Like
you're oversaved.
You're freezing at night for no reason. That's what you're doing.
What are a few other symptoms of people that are oversaved? Now wait a minute. We did not set this up. You told me that people their life is like this, and then they get saved and they make a big change. But some people get oversaved, right?
Some people, like when you're going this way, and then when you become a Christian, you're supposed to turn this way like 180. Some people do like a 189 and they just a little off tilt, just a little bit. Like
and what are some symptoms? How do we diagnose when somebody's oversaved?
Wow. Well, if you rebuke vacuum cleaners because it's a dirt devil, like you're doing too much. Like you're oversaved, and it's pretty clear. So, and everybody has that one friend who just they doing too much. Like it's just a little too much going on. Like you can't even have a regular conversation with them. You're like, hey man, I lost my keys. Can you help me find my keys? You need the keys to the kingdom. I'm like, bro, I didn't drive a kingdom.
It's a Prius.
Toyota. Yeah, it's a Prius. That's what I got. It's smaller than the kingdom. Won't fit in my garage. So some of your listeners are oversaved. A few of them are oversaved because I know some of them. Some of your viewers of live, I know they're oversaved. In fact, they turned off because there's a comedian on here. I can't be doing this. The Lord don't want you to laugh.
I know some people like that. All right, but you know what? Their family members are usually the ones that hang out with us because they are making them crazy. So here's a question. You got a new book out.
I do have a new book coming out.
Funny How Life Works. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so it's a book.
Yeah, I already said that, Mike.
No, I just wanted this to be the most awkward interview ever. So I wrote the book, Funny How Life Works, because I get to travel the whole world making people laugh. And I wanted to write a book to tell some of the stories that are funny, but also the stories behind the story. So when I did the Tonight Show on NBC the first time, I did a joke where I talk about jogging. And this white lady came out in front of me and we're jogging in the same direction. And then she looked back and she started jogging faster. So I look back too. I'm like, if a white person's scared of it, Michael Jr. is scared of it too, right? So I started jogging faster. She looked back again. She take off running. I take off running. We both scared of whoever behind us. Obviously, she's running from me. So I do this joke on the Tonight Show. The host said it was a classic. The joke has made millions of people laugh, but nobody really understand where it actually came from. And it actually came from a place of pain and hurt, but I was able to turn it, manipulate it into some comedy that has helped a lot of people. So it's almost like what the enemy meant for evil, God absolutely used for good. But that's what's in the book, stories like that. Dude, I got a story. I haven't told you about this. Dude, listen, I was in Northern California doing a comedy show. And whenever I do comedy, I want people to laugh, but I'm also listening between the gaps and I'm asking the question, what can I give to my audience? I used to ask, how can I get laughs? But now I ask, what can I give to my audience? And sometimes it's laughter, but sometimes it's something a little more. So I may give an encouraging word. I may say something specific. I'm just listening in between the gaps. So in Sacramento, I listen between the gaps. I say something encouraging, like, listen, your life has more meaning. You got something powerful you can do. There's probably something significant you need to do to get over a hump, to do something amazing in your life. So I say all of that. We do some more jokes. We laugh. We have a great time. It's like 2,000 people there. Afterwards, this dude, when we talk, we get in details about the book. But afterwards, this guy comes to my green room. Security knocks on the door. Some guy wants to talk to you. I'm like, we just did an autograph. I'm gonna talk to you. So I went out there. I talked to this dude. He's like an Eminem looking dude. He got on like a wife beater. He all tatted up. He looked like he was high, right? But he wasn't high. He had just been emotional during the comedy show, which isn't abnormal. People cry laughing or they just cry because I might have said something. Anyway, I'll cut to the end of it. But at the end of it, this story ends with me calling the police and helping him turn himself in because he's a fugitive of the law in multiple states.
Wow.
What the deal? Like, how do you get from, now either the comedy show was so good that he was moved, or the jokes was so bad, he was like, look, it gotta be better in prison. Like, I want to go to jail. But I literally was able to walk this dude to the cruiser and he got inside the car. And like at the end of the movie, the dude was looking at me out the back window. I was like, oh snap. But I got story after story after story. And funny how life works, but it's designed to get people to laugh, get them to think, and get them to make some changes as well in a really cool way.
Well, you do it. You do it. Yeah.
And let me say this too. I'm sorry, I forgot. I know people are getting excited about funny how life works, but the release date is today, and it's sold out everywhere. Like, it's not available. But I love Henry so much that I thought I'd be on. But if people really, really want it, I actually have a couple copies of my own. I know this will sound weird, but if you go Amazon anywhere else, I actually
wait a minute. You're not gonna read it to us because it's sold out. We don't have time for that. Are you gonna read us the whole book right now?
That's hilarious. I'm gonna do the jokes, man. Thanks for that, Henry. I appreciate it.
I thought you needed a little help.
But I do have some. Thanks. I do have some copies. So if anybody wants to go directly to my site, Amazon sold out, Target is sold out, Barnes & Noble sold out. But I got some copies. So if you go to Michael Jr., where did it go? Go to funnyhowlifeworksbook.com, and we literally just put this site up. We just made it available on our site so people can get it because it's already sold out, man. So cool. Super excited about that. But y'all should get the book.
That's
what
awesome.
What have you been up to, man? Hey, we should take some calls, dude.
We're going to take some calls in a minute. Now, I got to tell people this is a little different today because, if you call in with your pain, Michael Jr. is just going to laugh at you. So I got to prepare you.
That is 100% untrue.
That's called gaslighting. Their families do that to them all the time. And that now, you're going to, I try to share my pain sometimes at events, where I've run into Michael Jr. and he just,
that's
just laughs at me. Just laughs.
Yeah, that's what happens. I laugh at
you.
Yeah, Henry.
So
listen, let me tell you this other story real quick from the book. I gotta tell you this because you kind of touch on this when you speak, but I shared a story recently and I decided to put in a book. And writing, as you know, when you write a book, the details come to you in a crazy way, right? So when I was 19 years old, I had some police came into my apartment, and like 15 police officers. I was working 17 hours a day trying to buy an oil change business. I had nothing to do with drugs or anything. They came in there. Anyway, one of the police officers puts a gun to my head and pulls the hammer back. And he got the gun to my head. So, and I'm confused. I got tears running down my face. I don't know if this is the end of my life. I won't give all the details right now because we don't have time. But at the end of the story, man, one of the most amazing things happened ever, where I was so grateful by the end of that evening that I can't even tell you. And it wasn't anything it wasn't anything negative that happened to the police officer, but I went from 15 police officers in my apartment with a gun to my head, hammer pushed back, and then this lady who I don't even know comes into my apartment crying. She's in tears because the police raided her apartment and took her husband away and all of this stuff. And she came in there. Now I'm on the floor crying because the police have left. I'm on the floor crying. I'm done. I can't believe this happened to me. I feel like I have no value at all. I feel like I have no value. Then this lady who can't speak English comes into my apartment crying, and she says, they took everything. They took everything. I don't know what. And she could barely speak English. She had 2 kids, and she's crying, and she's all in pain. And all I could think to do is to reach into my wallet. I had like $14.52. And I handed it to this lady. And then she gives me this hug that I can't even explain. And then she walks out. I never even knew her name. But when the police officers put their gun to my head, what they asked me to do, they asked me to reach for my wallet, which was over the cabinet in the kitchen. And then as I reached is when the officer put the gun to the back of my head, because they were, anyway. But that same wallet that they used to try to intimidate me or maybe even take my life is the same wallet I was able to reach into and help somebody else. So in that moment, they told me that I didn't matter. But then this lady came in and said to me, I need you. And she couldn't even speak my language. And then I handed her what she, and the transformation of that was amazing. Now listen, I'm not mad at officers. I think that one officer, the other ones, I mean, everybody's just human, dude. I get it. You have a job to do. I'm not mad at you. I feel really bad for that officer who did that. Like I fully forgive him. I'm not tripping off that at all. But the fact that this lady came in at the right time in a position where I could give to her was doggone amazing. So I write about it in the book, man. Sorry, I didn't.
Well, the name of the book is Funny How Life Works.
It is.
And, you know, Michael, in that story and so many others that I've heard you share, and also that what I've seen, one of the most powerful things that I've seen in doing groups over the years is in the midst of so much pain, a lot of times when somebody can reframe it in some way, and that is a researched resiliency factor, the ability to look at a situation and reframe it from another lens is kind of, you know, part of what you're doing. There's a lot of research that goes behind that, that you're looking at painful situations and seeing, like when Joseph got thrown in prison, you know, one of my favorite stories in the Bible, he was thrown in prison for 13 years and ends up head of everything and able to basically save a nation. That the reframing of life is one of the most powerful things that we can do. And just, I know, you know,
dude, I never even thought about that. No, what you're saying is so powerful because you just helped me. First of all, am I supposed to be laying on the couch right now? Even though you're trying to help me.
But no, I'll send you a bill later though.
But what you just showed me was, so when I see a situation, more times than not, I can find the funny. I can reframe it for people and deliver it funny. But what you're telling me is taking place in those circumstances, like with the lady jogging that started out as a really bad story, or the police officer putting a gun in my hand started out as a bad story. I actually did the same thing. I reframed it in a way that could actually help people, which is so dope. So wow, let me give you a better explanation for the book. This book is stories from my life that I've been able to reframe to use funny to explain to people how life works. Man, Cloudy, you were dope.
How about that? And you know, there are like so many, any good psychologist that's had any kind of training has had courses on reframing. And it's always interesting to me when I would study that, you know, when you can put an event into a longer narrative, what happens is when we're going through pain, we have a very subjective experience of that moment, and the parts of the brain that are into the pain and feeling the pain and all of that can get global, and it begins to feel like this pain is all there is in life, and life goes bad and my whole life is bad and I'm bad and everything's bad. When it gets put into a larger story that actually engages other parts of the brain that help to process the pain and release other kinds of resources we have inside to move through it. And so that's what the Bible does over and over. It puts our pain into a larger story. And what you're talking about is taking moments of pain or fear or whatever And there's a bigger picture here. You know, God is
Oh,
always
that's
at
great.
work in our lives, bigger than whatever's going on in the moment. So, everybody,
Man,
you
that
got to
is
go
good
read this
stuff,
book.
dude.
Got to go read
Like
this
it's funny
book.
how life works. Sorry, it's sold out everywhere, but don't forget you can get it from us. What was the website again? Funny how life works book.com.
Okay, let's do that. Now we are going to bring in Dr. in quotation marks Michael Jr. here to
Yes, because earlier you were saying the benefits of laughter.
of humor.
Technically, I could be a doctor technically without all the extra work that you did. You know what I mean? How's that debt working out for you? No, I'm just sure it's paid off by now. I know how much you charge.
I keep waiting for you to send me checks. I go to the mailbox every day. They never come. I haven't seen one yet. All right,
Yeah,
so
you know
let's go to
what?
the
It's
phone.
direct deposit.
Hey, Michael.
Yes.
Apparently nobody in the United States wants to talk to you. So Andrea has called in from Germany, the only country that's never heard of
You
you,
didn't
and
even
that's
tell
probably
them
why.
to call. You didn't even tell them to call in. You said we're going to take calls. Listen, so here's what you say. You gotta say, hey guys, go ahead and call in right now.
I'm trying to protect our audience. Here, I'll give you the number: 844-940-2774. 844-940-2774. 844
Taking calls.
940-2774 to get on with Michael Jr.
Hey,
and then after you
link
talk
this
to him, I'll
my,
try to
my
help
page
you.
too?
What's that?
Oh, it's linked
There
to
we
my
go.
page too. So some of my fans are gonna be on here too, bro. So
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Well, you know what? There's help for you guys. All you guys been listening to Michael Jr. for years. There's help. You know, we can help you. Okay,
Hey,
let's
so
go
all
to
my fans
Andrea.
all my fans who are watching right now, I want to introduce you to Cloudy. This is my man. I love him. We're constantly communicating, talking. He helps me with stuff. I get to help him with a couple of jokes. We wrote a book together called The Power of a Brother. It just never got published. I don't know if you know that. Not anyway. He is amazing, doggone brilliant, and I want you to love him and check everything out he's doing. So I'm sorry, Andrea, you got a question?
Andrea, welcome to the program.
I do. Hi,
Hey,
can you hear me?
Yes,
I can. And you're calling us.
Okay,
Where are you in
this.
Germany? Where are you in Germany?
I'm in Stuttgart.
Oh my gosh.
Stuttgart. Oh,
Well,
watch your language in here. That's in America. That's something you shouldn't be saying that here.
Well, I can't believe I'm talking to you because you're my I go by the Ant Man. You're Dr. Ant Farm to me. Because I heard
sounds like you have you ever had to write a
story.
dissertation?
That's what I'm doing here. I'm a PhD student. And it's your story that really helped me structure my life so I could get this done. And I just wanted to thank you because your ant farm, I didn't buy an ant farm, but I almost did. And it really, really helped me. So if anybody
so awesome.
out
You're
there
welcome.
is
You're so
working
welcome.
on something, well, I think the story is definitely worth you telling.
Telling now? Michael, have you ever heard this story?
I have not heard.
You should. People should hear this story, and then I can ask you my question. But I really think the story is life changing.
I'll try to make this very, very short. But when I had finished all of my work for to become a psychologist, get a PhD. But you have 4 years of college and you have 4 years of graduate school. Then you have an internship after that, kind of like residency in medical school, and then they give you from the time you enter, they give you a certain amount of time to also finish a dissertation. I'd finished all the coursework, I'd finished my internship, and I'm looking out there and this dissertation is due, but which I had been totally avoiding is too light a word, running in the other direction from. It seemed like the most mountainous task to write a dissertation. So I would just, run from it. I'd get scared. I'd go play golf. But then I got really scared. I prayed. And one day, y'all can tell me I got aluminum foil on my head, but I'm telling you, one day God told me to go read a certain passage in the Bible. And I go and I open my Bible. And here's what it says. Go to the ant, O sluggard, and observe her ways. And it goes on and describes the ant. And so I'm going, God, I'm not a sluggard. What are you talking about? I work my butt off. I'm not a sluggard. And then I look up the word sluggard, and it basically means somebody that tries to avoid pain. And that's exactly what I was doing. I was avoiding the pain. So I got a friend, I tell a friend of mine about this. And she says, well, he said, observe the ant, then you're going to do that. And she bought me an ant farm. So I get the ant farm. I pour the ants in there. They're like not moving around because they're frozen from the FedEx truck, I guess. But then they start to move and and they're not doing anything. And Michael, I'm not seeing a dissertation appear because I'm observing the ant. Now I'm mad at God. And so I blow it off, right? This isn't helping me. So I blow it off and I leave for a week. And I come back and I walk in, and these ants have built an entire city, like tunnels and bridges. And I mean, it was unbelievable what they had done. And so I started observing them. And what I notice is, what do? They pick up a little grain of sand and they start to carry it and they go dump it over here. Then they go pick up another little grain and they kind of dump it right. And they pick up another one and then they walk across. And I'm going, I don't get it. God, what is happening here? And then the revelation came. I said, wait a minute, an ant can't build a city. I can't write a dissertation. But an ant can pick up a grain of sand and start to move it. What are the grains of sand for writing a dissertation? And I started to break it down into, well, I got to get professors to be on my committee. I got to pick a topic, go to the library. I can do that. I got to do, and I started getting into the grains of sand. And then 6 months later, I'm looking on my desk, and there's this big thing about that thick called a dissertation. I handed in, and a miracle had happened. They started calling the sluggard doctor. Now that's a miracle.
Wow.
And so anything in life is like that. You know, you just wrote a book. It's a page at a time, right?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it was quite the process. Wow, that's good stuff, man.
That's
Especially
right
God nailed it right on with the sluggard line too, man. That was perfect for you.
That was pretty perfect, wasn't it? Yeah.
Andrea, what's your question?
And Andrea, tell us what's going on.
Okay, so I am at the point where I'm about to defend it. I have an oral defense coming up. And this is why I'm so glad I caught both of you. And we have a comedian too, Dr. Michael Jr. as well, that can help
wait a
me
minute.
with this.
We have a comedian? Really?
Whatever, dude. That's hilarious.
Well, here's the thing, because you both are speakers, and I would love some tips on how to get over any fear or anxiety that is connected to me defending this, and then past that, teaching at the university and being up in front of people and giving papers, and just this whole new this whole new chapter in my life, because I'm older. I went back to school. I'm 41. I decided to do this, to go back to school, and this is my dream, but now it's starting to become real. It's starting to become real, and I'm getting a little scared.
Well, good. That means you're awake.
That is so good.
So, that's Michael, good. You had to stand up in front of audiences for the first time. Were you ever nervous? Tell her how you did this.
So one of the big shifts that I ever made, Andrea, and I'm telling you, if you do this, it could really change the game for you. Most of the time when people get on stage, they're thinking about themselves. They're thinking, what are these people going to think about me? Are they going to like me? Is this going to, how are they going to respond? Is my outfit fine? You're actually thinking about yourself. But if you can make a shift, I remember making this shift outside of a club in Los Angeles right before I went on stage. And the shift that I made was, I touched on it a little bit earlier. I used to always say, how can I get laughs from people? It was like a subconscious question that was always being asked. But I changed the question because God told me to. I changed the question to, how can I give them an opportunity to laugh? And later I changed it to, what can I give to this audience? But if you change it to, how can I give to this audience? So even when you go to defend your dissertation, look at it as if you are giving them something. There's some knowledge or some understanding that they don't have. And if you approach it as if you're giving that to them, so much of the pressure will be removed, because now your job is simply to present the gift. It doesn't matter how they respond to it. If you're going to be obedient, just present the gift and watch how much more smoother it will come out. And this is true if you're a singer, a dancer, no matter who you are, no matter what you do, you have a gift. Present the gift as opposed to being concerned about what you get in return. That's what I was.
Wow, that's really good. Wow.
How about that?
Paradigm shift.
How
Yeah,
about
it
that?
changes everything. It really does. Even when you go home, like even when you walk into a room, ask that question when you walk into a room as opposed to the default question that we've all asked ever since the fruit. We ask, what can we get, right? Because that sinful nature of ours. But if you shift it to more like what Jesus would say, he showed up and said, what can I give? Oh, you need healing. Oh, you need clarity. Oh, you need understanding. And he delivered that thing.
There
So
you
you have
go.
a gift, just deliver it.
There you go, Andrea. There is
Awesome.
see, Michael is one of these geniuses that doesn't know he's a genius. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about the science. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the science about what the genius just told you. And then I'm gonna give you a couple more things. One is that one of the things about anxiety is when you're going in to perform in any way, okay, any kind of way, anyway, the best performers in the world, the Olympians. I was watching the Formula One thing documentary last night, and one of the world champion drivers says, anybody tells you they don't get nervous is lying. Okay, here's what we know about every great performer. There's a curve. And as your arousal goes up, performance gets better until it goes too high, and then you start to kind of, it sort of hampers it. So here's the thing. You want to be butterfly. You want to be amped up a little bit. You want to go in there going, this matters, right? Because that gets everything, all your knowledge is going to be accessible, and this, that, and the other. What you don't want to do, and this is where anxiety attacks come from, it's not from the arousal, it's from the interpretation of the arousal. And what people do is they go, oh my gosh, I'm getting nervous. Oh no, I'm going to mess up. Oh. And they start to tune into evaluating how they're feeling. Exactly what Michael said. Panic attack people, one of the things we have to do is get them to stop tuning into and over evaluating how they're feeling and get involved in the process in the moment. So what he said, when you start to think about, I'm going to share all of this work that I did, they're going to be listening. This is a gift. See, that gets you out of yourself. Okay. And so that's a big one. You got to ignore how you feel and you've got to get into the moment. So here's another thing.
That's good. To
prepare for that, practice doing it. And as you practice doing it, and I'd practice doing it in front of somebody. My dog would be glad to interview you if you want. You practice doing it. That's going to bring up those anxious feelings. And then I want you to sit with them in your practice and go, oh, there's that feeling. You know what? My brain's still working even when I feel that way. This is amazing. I don't have to be afraid of how I feel. And you normalize that.
Yeah, that's good.
With your practice, boom, you'll do great.
That is dope. Wow. Yeah, Andrea, because there is somebody in that room who needs to hear what you have to say. There's somebody there. You may think they're there just to judge what you're saying, but there's somebody who actually needs this information. So if you can focus on that person, the game kind of changes in a good way. Henry is
there.
Awesome.
You go.
Wow, that's
really
Andrew. Helpful.
What is your
Thank you.
What is your degree in? What are you getting your degree in?
I'm writing on, it's between philosophy, literature, and theology. I'm writing on Jewish symbolism and an author, a German author.
Wow. So, Jewish symbolism is
yeah, I'm glad I didn't know.
Hey, we need to be interviewing her.
Michael. No, that is awesome. Jewish. I know one Jewish symbol. It's like some candles or something. That's
Okay. Start there. Andrea, thank you. Thank you for your call. Thank you for your call. And if you are anxious, I'm gonna get Albie to get your information, and we're gonna send you a free registration to. I've got a 2-hour webinar on anxiety, and you go look at that, and that might help you. Thank you for.
Dope. Hey, Andrea, and I'm not going to send you. I was going to send you one of my books, but you're in Germany, so I'm not shipping that far. Sorry, Andrea.
Call. I'll give you a cell phone number. He'll read it to you. Okay, let's go to Lynn, who's calling us from Michael back there. She just saw drop by your house. She's calling us from Texas. Lynn, welcome to the program.
Hello, Dr. Claude and Michael Jr.
Hey, how are you?
Oh, I'm good. So I had a question for Michael. I was wondering where you draw the line between bullying and just comedy, like poking fun at somebody, because my teenage daughter was asking me this yesterday. Like, there's kids in the class, who are class clowns, and they sometimes can just poke fun for comedy reasons, or they can go a little bit too far where it turns into bullying.
Lynn, that's a good question.
Go
Because
ahead, Hank. What you got?
every time I talk to Michael Jr., I have to go see a therapist. He just makes
every
too
time
hard.
every time I talk to Cloudy, I then have to talk to him again. It's the weirdest thing ever. I got to talk to him about what we talked about. So the line is, but there's something really cool here. The line from the giver perspective, from the so-called comedian's perspective, really should be, is what I'm going to say going to edify and uplift the people who's hearing it? Or is it going to tear somebody down? So it's really about asking the same question, which is, what can I give as opposed to what can I get, even in the moment? The issue is it's also about the person who's receiving it as well. How are they receiving this thing? So for example, so if I sat there for a second, you just had to make a decision about what that meant when I clapped my hands, right? Like, it could mean anything, but your brain immediately said, wait a minute, why did he clap his hand? It probably attached the meaning to it. So if you can help your child try to determine, I know this is hard, right? But if they could determine what meaning they're attaching to whatever somebody is saying, that gives them so much power. I know I'm all up in Cloudy's business right now, but that will give them a lot more power, because some of the bullying may not be bullying, meaning that's a definition that you have to attach to the situation, but different people can consider it differently. But if you can work with your child to determine, to reframe it, if you will, to use Cloudy's language from earlier, if they can figure out how to reframe it, the fact that they're getting this much attention means there must be something attractive about them. Like, if they could just reframe that, it'll help. But at the same time, the person doing the talking needs to make sure they're trying to uplift and edify. I know that's a lot. I just threw at you in a couple of seconds, but I'm bet Cloudy got something even better, because that dude is.
Well, yeah. I want to hear what Lenny feels or thinks about. Well, what you think about that, Lenny? Does that help?
Yes, it helps. And I understand that as an adult. I know that we studied the scripture, Ephesians 4:29, that you build whatever you say should build somebody up instead of tear them down. Yeah, but I know that teenagers sometimes.
Is your kid the one doing the talking or receiving the talking? Like, what position is your child in?
Receiving.
Oh,
but she's not as sensitive, but she was talking about in general that there are more children who are more sensitive.
Yeah.
And she's just like, it's not a big deal to me, but I know other kids may take it more personally and be hurt more by what the other person is saying.
Yeah. And especially at those ages, it can be so hurtful to kids. I remember when Lucy, our youngest daughter, was in middle school, there were some mean girls kind of things going on. And one of the things that we did, Lenny, was we actually, the whole family, we had a family meeting about this. We said, all right, so what are we going to do here? Let's get Lucy equipped to go into this world. And so we actually role played it, and everybody took a role, and we started, and she practiced how she was going to respond and how she dealt with it and got in the right. So a lot of times, one of the most important things about, and adults, are the same. We need our tribe to be around us and supporting us. So if we do run into that stuff from the outside, we got an immune system around us. And I think what you can say to your daughter, since you said she's not too affected by it, she can be that tribe for some of these other kids and say, look, these guys are losers if they're making fun of you, or, they're insecure, whatever, reframe it, just like Michael said. But I think that's a good role.
Yeah. Call them losers really loud. That'll make them feel, just, probably don't.
My bad. I apologize. These people are obviously insecure and trying to make themselves feel better by doing this to you. Yeah. How's that? I stand corrected. See, this is why I need Michael. He does it.
That is awesome.
All right, Lynn. Well, thank you for your bringing that up. You know, Michael, that's a really interesting question. Some of my best friends, I mean, John Townsend is an example. You're an example.
Oh yeah, yeah, I know John.
We've been in meetings like with publishers or others, and they'll listen to us talk to each other, and the publishers or whoever, they're starting to get uncomfortable because they're like,
Right.
and we are just laughing because a lot of her question means, how much love is there? And like you're saying, how's
so
it, what's the relationship like? And if the love is there and the understanding is there, that's one of the ways that we have fun. This is fun for both of us, but for some people it's not. And so, like you said, there's an awareness of the other, of how are they receiving? Because there's other people, I would never talk to them in the ways that I talk to John or Michael,
Right, absolutely.
It's about the relationship.
For me, that actually is clarity that our relationship is stronger. Like the fact that we can go at it the way we do and just really, I think for a lot of men though, but for me and you for sure, like every time we see each other, we're kind of going at it a little bit. Like, dude, have you read a book lately? Is what I would ask you. And you like, dude, have you made anybody laugh lately? Like, but these are our professions and this is what we actually do. And we're digging at the point. So it actually, I think brings us closer because we know it's a matter of love, but it's also that little thing, right? Where because we have that relationship, it's already it's a pre-frame reframe, if you would.
Reframe, yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's already Michael, there. We already know, yeah.
But here's what you don't understand. I'm not kidding. I'm really trying to help you. You really, if you're going to be a comedian, you got to get funny, man. You got to run out of time. All right, let's go back.
By the way, I talked to your therapist today, all three of them.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
they
quit.
Yeah, actually, they took a vote, and
they're firing me.
We're not doing this anymore. Yeah, Dr. Joyce Brothers, she left. Who else was you seeing? Dr. J. He was like, I can't do no with this dude.
And what's her name? What is her name? Dr. Ruth. Yeah.
Dr. Ruth.
Dr. Ruth. Yeah, remember Dr. Ruth?
Because you owe too, yeah.
No, not that Dr. Ruth. All right, let's go back to the yeah, I can't wait for the Michael Jr. spin on this question. Philip, calling us from Ohio with a dating question.
Ooh.
Welcome to the program.
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me?
It's going much better right now,
you,
Philip, until after you hear Michael's advice. So I'm gonna tell you, you're at the top of the hill right now. I wouldn't keep driving.
I can't wait. No, you guys are just having a great time. You're funnier than usual.
I don't know.
I think you're feeding off. Well, I don't actually know.
What is your question?
My question? Should I get right into it?
Oh, yeah, sure. Hop in.
Okay, so I just finished reading the How to Get a Date Worth Keeping and the Boundaries in Dating books. I just kind of binged through them, audiobook versions, and I just have a major question. Like in terms of the non-exclusive dating, I realized that I've struggled with that. I always get into exclusive relationships way too quickly. So how do you ask someone out without like leading them on, and then like do you ghost them after 2 dates? That's probably not the best way to do it, but do you like say, hey, let's go out as friends? Or I just like don't know what the question is if it's not like leading to a relation. I don't know. Like it's just like new gray area for me.
Philip, are you coming from a background of the whole courting world? Like if somebody goes out on a date, it automatically means that you got a bullseye on their back. You're gonna, they're like,
perhaps
that may be a little more in your experience than the entire world, because there is a wing, especially for those of you who are not from a faith perspective or have ever run into it. There was a wing of the Christian world that had this view that dating was bad, and so you should never date unless you're going to think you might marry that person. So it's so much pressure even ask. So that may be where you're coming from, because most people most people, say, hey, you want to go to a movie, or you want to go to dinner, or you want to go to lunch, or, we're not talking about, putting a ring on. So it
Hey, let
might.
me jump in real quick too, because yeah, I'm sorry, Claudia.
No, go. I mean, I invited Michael on the program. I'm not going to marry him. It's just a date. It's just,
Yeah, so, yeah, because that'd be a different.
Are you sure?
Wouldn't it, Claudia? Hey, so let me say this too. I'm a big believer of how you do anything is how you do everything, right? So if you feel like if you don't know how to not jump in deep, a symptom of that is when you first got on the phone, you started to have some casual conversation, and then you said, well, should I jump right in? And then you just jumped right in, right? So how you do anything is how you do everything. So you just showed up on this call and basically showed us how you date as well. So there's clearly some sort of pattern there, right? So if you can be aware of the pattern and then break the pattern, maybe even meet somebody and your goal is to only be their friend, that would jack your current pattern up. Like if your whole goal was to meet
Whoa.
5 friends, that could be pretty dope, I think. So
Yeah.
maybe try that. I don't know.
Philip, did you see the observational psychological powers from that man? You said one thing, he diagnosed the whole problem. He says, we got a code for that in the diagnostic. Michael, that was good,
Really?
man. That was good. That was good.
Oh, wow.
That was
you. What's
good.
so,
Yeah.
You know what's so cool about this, Cloudy? I'm forgetting about your caller for a second. What's so cool, dude, is you got language around some stuff that I do all the time. So that's why I love being around you, dude, because it just winds off in a really cool way. I'm sorry, Philip. You still got issues with women. Go ahead.
So, Philip,
Yeah, Philip,
I wasn't sure if that was the connection or what. That's why I was like, I paused and yeah, but you're right. I do have like that assumption that like if there's mutual interest, if it goes well, then there's like a follow up, and then like as that continues,
that
like
could be true.
Yeah,
that's fine.
So now you just break
That's
the pattern. Instead of assuming that about people.
Yeah.
Why don't you try to find somebody, and your goal is, like I said, to just be really, really good friends with that person, or just be or be there for them. Ask the question, what can I give? Because right now you're asking, what can I get? Really? Ooh, is she gonna be the one? Let's jump all the way in. Just ask, what can you get? Maybe she needs somebody to help her with the kids. Maybe she needs somebody to paint her house. Like, be a great friend first and just focus on that. And then who knows what could happen. Just break the pattern.
Yeah, that's good.
And yeah, there's at some point, and you'll be able to tell. I mean, you can tell in the dynamic. Sometimes I remember when I was single. There are, it's both extremes. Michael talks about being oversaved. Well, some people are over interested. like they're naming the kids before you order the entree. And so like you're going and bye. I got to run. But other people are, at some point you just sense that they're not interested. So I want you to kind of start to observe her, and if you feel like the dynamic is changing and it's not mutual or not somebody you want to pursue further, there's even a term for this. It's called the DTR, right? Define the relationship talk. And at some point, I think it's appropriate to say, so we've gone out a few times. Tell me how you're looking at this. And just have that conversation.
Oh, that's great.
Don't be afraid of that.
Yeah. Don't be afraid of the way you feel. It's for real.
Yeah. I guess,
wrong
I don't know. I've just been on like both sides of the equation where, it feels like one is more interested than the other, and then somebody gets hurt, even if it's only a couple dates. And so I'm just like, how can I avoid that? Or like, is there a
I don't know if you
look,
I don't know. Dating, what was it, Pat Benatar? Love is a battlefield. Dating is not without disappointment. It's not without anxiety. It's all that. What we have to do is we have to avoid doing anything hurtful to somebody. Sometimes people, dating doesn't go as far as somebody wants it to go, and somebody goes another way. That's a loss. That's a sad thing. That's not injurious unless somebody was deceptive or leading somebody on, or kind of whatever it was. So as long as you're honest, as long as you're genuine, if you go out with somebody for even a while, that's why people date, to find out, was this a short road we're on and we're out of road here, or does this have a long highway and we want to continue past the next, mile marker? And that's where the conversations are important. So I wouldn't be afraid of, quote, hurting someone if I were treating them well, not leading them on, and talking about stuff, because that's how you find out, are we going to go another 10 miles on this trip or not?
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Like the difference between hurting and harming, I think you said in your book.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Hurting and harming. All right.
Well,
That
thank
is
you
a
so
great
much.
question.
I
Philip, we appreciate
everything you guys are doing. Yeah.
And you know what?
Blessing.
If you're out on a date, and you're losing, right? Have you ever had that experience? You're out there, oh my gosh, she hates me. I'm not. Just before you go on a date, just steal a couple of Michael Jr.'s jokes and just pull them out.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. But do the joke about when you're a young black dude. That'll work great, Philip. That'll work great. Just that'll scare her right off.
I unfortunately don't have that common background.
That's why it's funny. That's
why
point,
it's
Philip.
funny.
You got the comedy.
Yeah.
Oh
so,
my goodness.
There you go. All right. Well, we appreciate your call, Phil. So Michael, do you have a story about when you were like a young psychologist? How did that work out for you?
Yeah. So I went to school. I went to Michigan State to a basketball game. That was a great opportunity. Yeah, I never had I saw a psychologist one time. Well, I saw a girl who was thinking about being a psychologist. She wasn't actually. So no, I don't have any therapeutic. But if you notice, even with Philip,
well, I did notice that you probably are what we call pre-therapy. I noticed that you have not. No, yeah, I wouldn't want to take.
You noticed that I'm not ready yet. Okay. Hey,
I think you're ready. I just noticed that it hadn't happened yet. I noticed.
You noticed in the results. The results.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to be judged by those results.
What's the longest you've worked with somebody? Well, like, what's the is that like, what's the longest amount of time you've worked with somebody? Just curious.
Well, it always depends on kind of what somebody needs. And I'm saying that I'm going to take this real serious for a second, because there are some people out there that are judging some people who have been in counseling or therapy for a long time. And you may be very, very wrong to judge that, because depending on, if we take a house, for example, okay? And let's say a storm comes through, you guys have these down in Texas, and a few shingles get blown off and you got a leak or whatever. So you call the repair people, they come out, and they're there for 3 or 4 days and they fix it. Everything's back to fine. You go to some areas of the world and an earthquake came through and that house got decimated. That fixing it, they got burned to the core of their soul, and it could happen in infancy. And when you're talking about the foundation that happens to some people in deep attachment issues, never were bonded with, parts of their brain didn't grow because of the absence of love, others with the absence of structure, some a tsunami of wow. I've worked with people who were gang raped as children. You don't fix that in a day. And so I'm saying all this to your question, Michael. I've had very long-term experiences with people that have been very, very good, and it's continued. It's like a long journey in the same direction. And I've seen people go from non-functional to big executive positions, but it took a long time and there was a lot of work. So to your point, it can be really quick. It can be you can help somebody in a phone call, or you might have to go deep, stay there a while.
Wow. That's dope. So
now,
I do.
Go ahead. Well, I was just say, if you called me, I'd leave a lot of white space on the calendar. That's all I'm saying.
that is awesome. That's really cool. So
What,
I do.
what were you gonna say?
I have a nonprofit called Funny for the Forgotten, where we go to homeless shelters and prisons and abused children's facilities and stuff like that. And we take comedy there, right? Because it's called Funny for the Forgotten. So, and I'll get a chance to talk to some of the prisoners or some of the homeless people. And I met this homeless guy on Skid Row, literally Skid Row in Los Angeles. And the first time I went there, I met this guy. He seemed pretty cool. And he admitted to me when he was out on the streets doing all of the stuff he was doing, he said what he was doing. And this story is deep, dude. He said what he was doing, unknowingly, he was searching for his dad because he had never met his dad before. So he's searching. He said he went like this. He said, I was just searching for him. I was looking for him. He said, but I didn't know it at the time. So when I did all my dirt, I was searching for my dad. So I go back a year and a half later. And this, because you went deep, I'm going kind of deep too. I went back a year and a half later, and this is going to take a moment for your viewers to understand what this means. But it's so I went back a year and a half later, and the guy in charge of that place explained to me that guy, his name was Sugar Bear, the homeless dude, that he actually found his dad. And he turns out that his dad is his granddad.
Wow.
Like what do you do with that? Like this whole time, anyways, I believe he's even in a better place just for having that closure, but at the same time, it opened up so much more stuff, man. And as a comedian or as a comedic thought leader, some people are saying, I just try to show up and deliver what I can in that amount of time. Comedy will ease the pain a little bit, and then maybe I can give them a few tools. But somebody like you comes in there and really dives deep and gets some of that stuff out of there, man. So I think it's pretty important what you're bringing to the people, man.
Well, and yours too, and everybody that is listening, whatever role you play, when you have an interaction with somebody, and we know this we put brain scans on them and watch this, that a human interaction, even for a moment, has ripple effects in somebody's being. That's why one of my favorite verses says, let every word that comes out of your mouth, be one that builds up and not tears down, because that's got ripples, and those ripples go past that person, because then they're affected, then they go affect somebody else, and they go affect somebody else until it kind of runs a gamut. And what you're talking about there, Michael, it reminds me of one of my favorite passages where Paul says, look, God's the one that's healing everybody. Okay. But each person, he said, plays a different role. And one just sows a seed, just a little bitty, just there for a second. I grew up in Mississippi where, I'd go out in the fields to go hunting and all that, and fishing and all that. And you see the soybean fields and all, and the machine goes through and they're sowing those seeds. They're only there for a second.
Yeah.
But then it says somebody else waters. Now they're going to be there for a little longer and standing there, and somebody else tends to it. Then somebody reaps the harvest, right? But everybody's not there for the same amount of time, but we're all there for at least a moment.
Yeah.
So use that moment,
because then you're there for longer if you actually picking it. I want to point that out.
Going to be there for a while. Seriously. I mean, everybody plays a role.
Everybody does, completely, entirely. And I think there's like 7 different processes before somebody, even people trying to lead people to Christ all the time, like, oh, I almost had them. No, dude, just plant some seeds. Stop being weird. If you're supposed to plant seed and you're leading somebody to Jesus, you oversaved. Like, let the doggone seed grow. Let somebody water. But like, you were oversaved. You're trying to reap a harvest. You're digging in the ground. You put up a seed talking about let's eat. No, it's a seed. Put it back in the ground. Anyway.
Put it back in the ground. There you go. There you go. Well, speaking of spending moments, we're going to spend a moment here with Kathleen, who, you know what, I have not talked to Kathleen yet, and we're going to, but the first thing I see on my screen, Kathleen, you get caller of the century, because nobody ever asked this question. Nobody ever asked this question. So go ahead.
Thank you. My question is, how can I be kinder, and why am I not kinder to my husband?
Now do you see why I named her caller of the century?
That is brilliant, man.
I mean, how many people, seriously, Kathleen, how many
Is that her
people?
husband in the background barking? Because I get it. If so.
Well, you know what? I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't know
It's not her husband.
what
It's not her husband,
Finley
for sure.
what Finley's doing here. Usually, we have her taken care of during this hour. But Kathleen, before we talk about this, and I want to ask you how it plays
Brilliant.
out. The Bible says, and any psychologist will tell you, who's worth his or her shame, that to the degree that we take ownership of our own issues, what Jesus said, we take the log out of our own eye first. Every one of us should be answering or asking the question that you did, but we don't. We blame. How can my husband or wife be kinder to me? How can, and that's important a lot of times because they're not. But for somebody to take ownership of, gosh, I need to do better here. That's why you get caller of the century, and you just got a lifetime membership to everything on my platform. So tell me,
hey, Kathleen, I'm gonna send you one of my books too, just for real. Just because that is I've never even heard that before. I'm gonna send you one of my books. Because that is bananas. Wow. Like that's the type of question you ask. I don't know how. Yeah. Henry's team will have your information. We're gonna see your book.
We'll get it.
Wow.
So, tell us what made
Cloudy.
you aware that you need to be kinder.
Smart, great question.
Well, just kind of like a snapshot in time. Yesterday, I was walking in from the grocery store, and I noticed that I greeted my dog with like a lot of enthusiasm and like eye contact and happiness, and then my husband, I was just kind of like like I don't even think I did a word, and I didn't give eye contact, and then I kind of like turned around, and then I was just, I don't know, thinking about it, and I was like, I do like things like that a lot. Like I teach students, and I am really kind to them, and I give them a lot of energy, and then like my husband, who I love more than anyone, you know, like I'll just be like, yeah, okay, kind of somewhat listening sometimes, and definitely not like my teacher self, you know, or like if I was with strangers, like maybe I'd offer them water as soon as I walk in a room, but like my husband and I, not as much. And my husband's really kind. And I'm just like, I don't know, like what's wrong with me?
Well, what's wrong with, one of the things that's wrong with you is that you're human. And
that's so helpful, Henry. That is so deep. That's deep.
Well, Michael touched on in the beginning of the program that, you know, we were designed to be really, really connected to God and others. And when we unplugged, really what original sin is about our egocentricity. We're the center of the universe, right? And so maturity is always getting out of just seeing everything about me. And what happens is a lot of times in a marriage or other relationships we're around is sometimes you can even begin to experience the other person as an extension of yourself. And we just forget there's another separate person there with feelings. And as soon as you become aware of that, what did you do? All of a sudden your kindness began to emerge because you look like Michael said, wait a minute, there's another person here. There is another. So you know that with your students and others, but we get into just kind of, you know, people are extensions of ourselves and our egocentricity. This is a human thing. So part of it is going to be a little bit things that'll help trigger you to remind you, oh yeah, there's an other there. One thing that I would do, and then I want to hear Michael, one of the things that I would do is I would sit down with him and I'd say, you know what? I became aware of something. Do you ever feel that? Do you ever feel like I just kind of, you don't get my best? What does that make you feel like? One of the questions I get people to do a lot when I'm doing, especially executive, you know, consulting and coaching with people, and it's really, really good with teams. I get them to take somebody they work with out on a coffee break, say, look, I want to take you for coffee. They sit down and say, look, I'm not going to say a word. I just want you to be honest with me. I'm not going to defend myself. I'm not going to evaluate it. I'm going to ask you one question. what's it like to be on the other side of me? What's that like for you?
Great. Goodness gracious.
And just take that. So I would ask him, when I notice I do this, what does that make you feel like? And then that's going to sit in your soul, and that's going to help. He's going to feel loved by it. You're going to have more awareness of what y'all want from each other. I don't hear in your just what you've said. Some people are dealing with a lot of critical interjects and internalized ways of reliving another relationship that they was banging them upside the head inside their own head, and they're playing that out and bullying somebody. Yeah, I don't, that's probably, you have too much care, it sounds like. But I would just go talk to him. Now, Michael, what are you thinking over there?
So, Kathleen, how do you say it?
Yes.
Yeah, Kathleen.
Yes, Kathleen.
So here's what I'm gonna do for a second. So if you could, are you you're not in the car driving or anything, right? You're at home or something?
No. Yes, I'm standing in my garage.
You're standing in your garage. Okay. Is there a bunch of items in your garage right now?
Yes.
Okay. So do me a favor. Close your eyes for a second, and tell me how many items are in your garage. With your eyes closed, how many items are in your garage that are red? How many red items are in your garage? Keep your eyes closed and tell me how many you remember being there. How many?
I remember two. My husband's drum kit thing is red.
Okay, two items. All right, now open your eyes. Now, how many are?
Yeah, I missed a lot of red.
You missed a lot.
Yeah, there's like a lot. Yeah.
Right. So the reason that you notice it now is because I asked a question about it. Right. So you're in a good place because you're asking a question. But the question you really need to be asking is the question you opened up this call with was how can I serve my husband more, or whatever it was, right? But if you actually ask that question, your brain will actually start to show you more answers. The problem is right now when you walk in, you're not seeing all the opportunities to love him even better because you're not asking that question. So right now, if I said to you, what does a purple monkey look like? You didn't know beforehand, but your brain just showed you one, right? So what you need to do is I would for sure do what Cloudy just told you to do, because that is brilliant, to sit down and tell them that you've noticed where you messed up. But then I would actually ask that question maybe 10 times, 15, maybe 20 times a day, just in your head until it gets into your subconscious. And then you'll walk into the room and you'll notice all the red that's there. You'll notice all those opportunities to actually serve him. Because right now there's probably some other questions that you're asking that are probably clouding what you really, really want. You're probably asking a question like, ooh, does my dog need anything from me? Does the kids need anything from me? Does anybody need anything from me? And you're not asking a question about him. So purposely out loud, ask that question and watch what'll happen.
Wow.
That's so good. Yeah, Kathleen, I used a word called triggers. You remember that? You got to have something that triggers awareness. When we build new patterns of behavior, we have an awareness of the issue, but if we don't have something that triggers a new behavior, and what Michael just gave you is a great trigger. You could even, and this is going to sound cheesy, but I mean it, you could even have your phone set on however many times a day, a trigger, a reminder comes up. What's going on with my husband?
That's great.
Reach out to some kind of trigger. And then what he said was, Finley, that is
when
not
you hear a dog
appropriate right now.
Hey, remind you. That's a great example, Claudia.
Too.
When a dog barks.
Hang on a second.
Claudia's gone. We missed the rapture. Where'd he go? So listen, like utilize this whole moment for real, Kathleen. Like even a dog barking. Let's just use that because your phone makes a lot of noises throughout the day, right? But if it was something a little more unique, maybe a dog barking, or maybe every time you grab the microwave, the handle on a microwave, have that thought. You know what I mean? So like actually, I would do that. I would grab the microwave, bark, and then I would say that question like 15 times until that microwave reminds you to ask that question, and then it'll be a trigger.
I'll give you an example of that. There is somebody specific in my life who gave me a little, it's a little, knows I like coffee, gave me this little coffee stirrer thing. And when they gave me that, I said, you know what? This is going to always remind me to pray for you. Every time I would use it and scoop the coffee.
Triggered.
It's a trigger to pray for them. So we need triggers for new behaviors.
That's
and if
good.
you ever hear somebody say, and I've heard this 1,000 times, well,
I'll remember.
you're working with couples,
Right.
and they'll talk about an issue in couples counseling. Then they go out, she's brought it up or he's brought it up, and then the spouse doesn't do it that week or come back, and they go, see, he doesn't care. We talked about it. He didn't follow through. Look, that's the way the brain works. Unless there are triggers to remind you to get to do it, then the old patterns will take over. That doesn't mean necessarily somebody doesn't care. What it means is we need to structure. The word structure means to build something. We need structure, like Michael gave you, to be able to build habits that go into new wiring. That's why God said, remember what he said? Put it on your forehead, put it on your shirt, put it on the doorpost. We need reminders. I'm going to send Michael some reminders to be funny. He needs to be reminded.
That is awesome. That is so great.
So anyway, Kathleen, get Albie to give you. You know what I said? I said lifetime. I don't think technologically that works. I don't think we have the lifetime thing. Anyway, you're going to get at least a year, okay, free on our platform to get anything.
And I'm gonna give you my book. I'm sending you my
want.
book for real, and you can read it for a lifetime. So my stuff works. Just want to say that you can read my book over and over again for a lifetime. Yeah.
All righty.
I will.
Thank you for your call. There you go.
Awesome,
Thank you so much.
Way to love your husband by asking a question.
You know what? We could spend a lot of time on that. You know, most of the time we just go through life, you know, our natural tendency, like you said, Michael, even going into doing a comedy show or reading it, defending a dissertation or anything, we're kind of like scanning of, you know, somehow we've made it about ourselves, and to get out, we need to be rescued out of our humanity or subhuman, you know, our fallen humanness. We're not even being human if we're not seeing the other. Humans see others, and to be triggered for the other is a big deal.
That is good, man. That is really good, Claudia.
So let me ask, you know, we got to ask our, I don't have a clock around here. Albie, how are we doing on time?
We are a bit over the hour, my friend.
A bit over the hour.
We're 19 minutes over the hour. 19.
Well,
dude, the time has flown by.
This has been good. I was gonna try to get to you know, Liz has been hanging. Michael, you got another minute? We talked to Liz
I got
here?
it. Talk to Liz for sure.
Liz calling us from Missouri. Liz, welcome to the program.
What up, Liz?
Hi.
How are you?
How are you all?
We're doing
well. So
I'm always doing well if I'm around. If I'm around Michael, I'm laughing most of the time.
Oh, cute bromance. Well, I have a question about sexuality and lust. So, and this is spurred because I've had friends and we talked and we confessed about, I confessed about lust, and they have issues with pornography and masturbation. And so this question's not just for me, and it's for my friends too. I'm an only Christian in my family, and I'm in a new dating relationship. And I want to know
now when you're in a new dating relationship, I got to ask that question. What is new and what is a dating relationship? What does that mean?
So, well, this is actually my first dating relationship. I was kind of against marriage and relationships due to sexual trauma in my past. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to avoid this. But I actually have been developing this friendship with this guy for about 7 months. Then recently we talked about like, okay, well, you're actually a really good friend of mine, and we both believe that like friendship is a good foundation for marriage, because when shit hits the fan, can I say that?
You just did.
That it's gonna happen. I just did. Sorry.
Hey, Liz. I'm one of these.
Yes.
I'm one of these Bible people, and that word's in the in the Bible multiple times. So yeah, you're fine. Go ahead.
Wait, what version of the Bible you reading,
All right.
Claudia?
I'm reading the original Greek. Now there's a lot of English words for it. Paul said it. He said, I count it all as dung is one of the words that he used for that. So,
I thought you was, okay. Oh, I got it.
Yeah,
Cool,
there you go. All right.
Yeah.
So Liz, go ahead. I'm not freaked out by that at all.
Okay.
Now Michael's a little oversaved, so it kind of made him uncomfortable, but I'm fine.
No, I'm good.
So,
I'm good.
but you are right.
Right.
You're right because look, when people are in the beginning of a relationship, and sometimes they even later, they ask the physical to carry the burden of the whole relationship.
Wow, that is great,
Yeah.
Claudia.
And it is a part of the relationship, right? It's actually designed to be an expression of the entire relationship. The Bible's word for sex is no. Now, not no like the Baptists. I use that metaphorically. Not N-O. You know, a lot of people think the Bible's word for sex is N-O. No, it's K-N-O-W. Right? That's what Abraham knew Sarah and she conceived. You've heard the term to know someone in the biblical sense. So a lot of times what happens is people in a dating relationship, there is not a full knowing, which ultimately is making a lifetime. I'm putting everything into this relationship. I'm joining my entire life with you. And then because of that knowledge, everything gets expressed in this physical union, right? It's supposed to express the relationship that they're. Sometimes people in relationships, the physical comes before the knowing, and it tries to make up for the absence of intimacy. And it won't carry a relationship. That's why relationships die.
You don't know what you don't know because you don't even know. That's
Boom.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Wow.
So anyway, the friendship thing is an important part.
Yeah.
So we're out of time here on the program.
What's your question? We'll go. Yeah. What's the question?
Yeah. So I just, I think my sexual education has been stunted. And so I
have you dealt with the sexual trauma? Have you been in counseling and therapy and all that? Have you gotten over it through the trauma you had? Because that's a big deal.
Yeah. I've been going to therapy for about 7 years.
Oh, good. Okay.
And I had severe PTSD, but I have not experienced a triggering event in the past 2 years. So yeah.
There you go. Good work.
I think I've been good.
Work.
Yeah.
Good work. Okay, so what is your question? What's your question?
I don't even know because I don't really know much about sex. But I feel like I want to protect my heart, and like this is the first time I've really had these feelings, like lust feelings for a guy.
That's normal. It's called desire. You know, the Bible's word for lust is desire.
Hey, so let me ask you this question.
And I don't know what's the line. I don't know what's the line or Let
me ask you this question.
Go ahead.
On a scale of 1 to let's just say 1 to 10, how where do you feel like this is an issue for you? I'm only using this as a measurement to ask a second question. But on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you feel like you're at as far as having this being a problem in your life? 10 being really, really bad, 0 being it's not a problem at all? Just to give me a number.
It's not debilitating, so it's not a 10.
Okay,
But
so what would you say?
it is to it. I think maybe a 6.85.
Okay, 6.8. Okay.
Wait a minute.
So
Could
now-
you be more?
Yeah.
Could you be more specific? I can't deal with these generalities.
So 6.8. I'm gonna go ahead and round up to a 9.
I can see people dating like all over the world. You know what? I've got about a 5.487 going for you right now.
That's awesome. So let me ask you this question. What do you think the average, let's just take 3 of your friends. Where do you think their struggles are with this? What number would you give your closest 3 friends?
Oh,
Is
man.
it about the same, or is it non-existent, or what do you think it is? Is it similar?
Well, I know their struggles, and it's porn addiction and masturbation.
Okay.
I don't have
Right. So let's
that.
just say, so we can stop right there.
Yeah.
So the first thing I would do, I don't know if it's the first thing, Cloudy probably got something amazing for you to do. But listen, if you are the most successful person in your group, you gotta get another group. Like for real, meaning if all your friends are struggling with this and you're not in a position to pull them out the pit, you guys are all down in this pit with shovels trying to dig your way out. But you can't, like, you know, you can't. So you have to find a new group. Like who around you, or maybe not around you, can you spend some time with to see how they are living their, see what they're doing. Wow, you're actually dating this dude for this long and you've never even been alone together. Like you haven't seen that before. So if you're gonna have something, you first have to see it. Like you gotta like evaluate your friends, like really, because the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And we were 3 minutes in before dung was coming out of your mouth, right? So that just means that your circle has dung coming out of their mouth as well, which means you really got to check your circle first. You got to do the digging because you're doing great by going to therapy. That is awesome. As soon as you leave the therapy of speaking to that one person, you're then going to hang out and speak to 5 people who got problems similar to yours or worse, and they're pulling you down. So this dude, the therapist, is trying to pull you out, and your friends is like, hold on, let's just talk for a second. Telling you, there's somebody around you who can really, who you look up to. Or maybe they're not around you. Maybe you need to find a completely different church to find that one person, and God will be like, her. Go introduce yourself to her. Whoever the her is God tells you about, she's not gonna look nothing like you too.
Yeah.
She's just not. She probably got a long, like she don't look nothing like you. God's gonna say her, and that's where you need to go introduce yourself to her.
Yeah. Well, I have some church adoptive moms in mind that I could talk to.
You what?
Boom.
You what? You got what?
It's like I have church ladies, like ladies from my church who I view them as moms
Dana Carvey
in my life that I could talk to.
First of all, you can't call them church ladies because you're not going to want to hang out with them. Don't call them church ladies. Call them women of valor. Yeah, call them something that you want to be. Call them some women that you're aspiring to be. I have some inspiring women at my church. Call them that. Don't call them church ladies because don't nobody will hang around with the church ladies.
All right.
So Liz, let me let me give a little bit of a reframing of what you've described as well.
Yes, please.
What Michael's saying, I think, is really important. You know, we need to be what happens with kind of how we handle situations is we tend to, it's kind of contagious, right? So in fact, the scriptures are very clear that character is contagious. And so we kind of begin to kind of, a group enforces its norms. That's one of the physics of a group. And so who we're going to hang around, we're going to kind of like, we're going to be talking to each other. And if somebody says, oh, I think I went too far, then the group's going to go, well, let's help kind of reel you back in. And if some people are, on the other end of the spectrum, and they're just even afraid of anything that feels more than a twitch, they're saying, no, that's fine. That's normal. You got to be reeled back in that way. But I want to make a distinction on something, because you come from a lot of trauma, right? And you've not been in relationships before. And frankly, I am really, really glad. I am really glad
Yeah,
that you're
me
feeling.
too.
I'm so glad you're feeling all this stuff. That is so redemptive and healing for a trauma victim to be able to reclaim her body and feel how God has wired you, and to have that, like, that is a natural thing to be experiencing everything you're experiencing. That is a different world than somebody who has a porn addiction for 1,000 different reasons. So I don't want you, I think if somebody's addicted to porn, here's a problem. What's happened is, by definition, they have exited the relational world and substituted real relationship with the symbol of somebody. It's a fantasized relationship that they have 100% of control of in their own head, and that can stunt somebody's both relational performance, connectedness, as well as sexual performance. So that's something that is a different world. What you're talking about is normal. So get around some normal. Look, it's good that you're feeling this stuff. The Bible's clear about its limits. And so, stay accountable to some people. And also sometimes, and I talked to my therapist about this if I were you. Sometimes there are aspects of the heart and soul that get triggered. I don't mean in a bad way. I mean awakened, in terms of some isolation, or loneliness, or maybe from the just needs to be validated, other stuff that can actually make all these desires 10 times stronger, because again, we're asking sexuality to carry something or to heal something that needs a different kind of healing. So I don't know if that's in the picture anywhere, but just enjoy how you're feeling. Don't do anything the Bible says don't do, and find some people to help you do that. Hope that helps.
Go hang out with some ladies of the light as opposed to the ladies of the night.
Yes.
That's what we gotta do.
There you go. So pick up a copy. Pick up a copy of my book, How to Get a Day Worth Keeping, because I got a couple of chapters in there about kind of the way that all this stuff can work for good or for bad, because everything in life we're going to find can do, one of the two. God created all this stuff for good, but it can be used in ways that are hurtful. All righty. Well, Michael, that went by very, very quickly.
That did go by quickly, man. Wow.
You got to come back. I don't know. I want you to come back, but I'm going to let, the audience is going to tell us, they
will let us know.
Stuff. But my hunch is that they're going to want you to come back. I think that's the way it's leaning. I can't promise it. I think it's leaning that way.
I certainly hope so. But even if not, they should go buy my book, because I just want the money anyway. So.
Well, you're always all about the money. I'm kidding. Michael's all about heart. And I tell you something. I've done a lot of events with this man, and there's some really good comedians in the world. They can make people laugh. I love comedy. I love to listen to. In fact, I get in the car sometimes. So it's the Comedy Channel that I care about instead of the news, because that's comedy also. But anyway, that's another time.
It's not uplifting, right?
But I love comedy. But Michael, what I want everybody else to hear is to go check this guy out, because when he gives his comedy to people, and I use that phrase, gives his comedy to people, it's a great example for all of you, because you might not be a comedian, you might be a car mechanic, you might be a teacher, you might be a nurse, you might be whoever you are. And what you do in life every day can be the same thing that he does using comedy. He uses it to give. And when you God puts you on the planet with a gift. And that gift was for other people's enjoyment and your fulfillment, for you to fulfill your purpose in life, and for other people to get to enjoy it. When when Michael Jordan plays basketball, he's using his gifts. But look at all the people in the arena that get to enjoy watching this. And that's how you are wherever you are today. Your gift, go let it shine because it's good for other people. So Michael, we appreciate
awesome,
you, man.
Dude, that's what you're doing with your gift, man. Your gift to understand people, not just your intelligence, but also how smart you are to really know what people want and be able to deliver it in a real cool, unexpected way, dude. That's what I appreciate so much about you, Cloudy, on the real, dude.
Well, you are very kind.
Boom.
Doesn't sound like you have good. It doesn't sound like you have good discernment, but you're kind.
That could be completely true.
Well, we appreciate having you. Now, give us your website where people can go find you.
Oh yes. So the book, Funny How Life Works, is sold out everywhere. Amazon is out, Barnes and Noble's out, Target. Everybody's
I'm out.
out.
I don't have
he's
any.
out because he didn't buy one. But guess who's not out? Me. I'm not out. I got some. So you just go to my website and I'll send it directly to you. Unfortunately, everybody is sold out. But just go to funnyhowlifeworksbook.com, funnyhowlifeworksbook.com. We'll send it to you. You'll enjoy it. You'll laugh. And then also you will, I hope you'll be inspired as well and have some tools that you can take with you to realize, maybe do life a little better using some funny. So that's what we're doing.
All right. Michael, thanks
You're
for
awesome,
joining
dude.
us.
I love you, man.
We'll see
You're
you
awesome,
next
Cloudy.
time. You too. You too.
All right.
I'll see you
man.
soon.
Yep. All right. Bye.
Well, that's all the time we got today. It's been really, really fun having Michael on and check him out. A lot of great material, a lot of great stuff. If you ever hear him speak, it's really worth it. Speaking of speaking, I'm going to be speaking to you on a 2-hour marriage webinar. It's coming up on May 19th, and you can pre-register for that no matter what state your marriage is in. We're going to talk about some things that can help, especially if it's in crisis, or especially if it's just a recurring issue that you can't solve, or especially if it's going well and you just want to make it better. Go to boundaries.me/marriage to get signed up for that. There's a pre-registration big discount, and we'll have that available to you if you go on that site. And if you can't join it live, you sign up for the live event and you can stream it later with your spouse or with your support group or whoever you want to talk to about it. Boundaries.me/marriage. And also, while you're there, or if you're not going there for that reason, go to boundaries.me. Check out the platform. We have many courses available for you. Boundaries.me. And check it out. Also, share the program with your friends. Send them a link, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, or as a podcast, wherever podcasts are sold. They're not sold, they're actually given away for free. So this program is a free program, and you can get it on a podcast at boundaries.me. All righty, guys. Great to be with you. Next couple of days, I am traveling, and I will either be here on a best of the show version, or depending on kind of how connections and travel and all that goes, I might be able to hop on. And if I'm not, we'll still be here in some form or fashion. Okay. Always appreciate you guys, and keep in the fight. Keep fighting dysfunction. Wherever it shows up, developing herd immunity. That's what we're doing here. Herd immunity against dysfunction, one dynamic at a time. Okay, guys. Love you and see you next time.